Hello, everyone. We're coming up to the top of the hour, and welcome to the RigER webinar. I see that our participants are gradually joining, which is great. Thank you very much for your patience and logging into today's webinar. Today's topic, and I'll just dive in it in a few seconds a little deeper, will be dedicated to the 4 types of oilfield jobs. So we basically are going to be talking about what you can do in RigER when you manage your oilfield rentals, and what kind of jobs you can create. And one of the reasons why there are several kinds of jobs is just to make sure that it is easy. I guess the key word, the operative word here is easy to create these jobs. Today's topic, today's topic is the 4 oilfield job types in RigER and how to do them. And let me introduce to you our speakers today. So it's Arsena Artinian, software consultant of RigER, and Indra Kingerlite. So she is Indra is the user support lead and is the person who is fielding a lot of requests from our current and future users and managing all the support desk at our company. And the topics that the 2 of our speakers today are going to be covering include the several things. However, they're all fit within the order within the topic of the oilfield jobs in RigER and how to manage them. So we'll start with the sales because it's an important part of the process. Then we'll move on to the price management and who we do the price management with, such as the client's locations and the contacts in the system. And then we will kind of bring up that core topic of our conversation today, the 4 types of the oilfield jobs in RigER and how to manage them. Again, a quick intro to those of you who are new to RigER who don't know much about us yet, or may have heard but not necessarily remembered everything. So RigER is a flagship product of BelcaSoft Corporation. We run out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with a growing number of clients coming from the United States as well. Given the latest development of the oil gas economy in the United States. The 3 pillars that we focus on, or that we build our company and the product on, are the paperless enterprise is what we're promoting and building on. We do thrive on and develop as well as configure the custom solutions for our clients at a very affordable and highly customizable sort of level. And integrations is the 3rd pillar on which we base our product, and it's part of our philosophy. We know that none product is the best whatsoever in everything. So we have developed RigER so that it would work with all the different applications, being that Google, Microsoft Office, or ERP applications or accounting applications. So that's a key thing for us to develop the integrations. Going to the next one, I wanted to introduce you to a visual representation of what RigER family of product is. So RigER, again, is a cloud-based product with a number of the mobile applications that support it. Again, this is all part of our philosophy of bringing the paperless enterprise to the companies in the oil field. So through the power of the internet where it exists, we empower you through a cloud database, and empowering you through the mobile applications and doing the work on the mobile applications. We've developed several of them that support different functions in the oilfield rentals and services business, from sales to the dispatch to the purchasing. And those applications both work online and offline. And again, some of the industry applications of RigER include the equipment distribution, downhole tools, waste management, flowback, telecom, rig movement, and on. So basically, using RigER platform, you can develop, and we rather can develop for you any application or configuration of any system. So we have 2. Well, on the map, you can see where our locations of our clients are, and they're both in Canada and the United States. However, we headquartered in Canada, in Calgary, and in Houston, in the United States. Some of our clients, again, to those of you who are new, have not seen them, wanted to know who we work with and work for. So these are the companies that vary in size and type of equipment that they are managing. Let me introduce Arsena Artinian, who is our software consultant and will be talking about the oilfield sales in RigER.
Yes, thank you, Nikolai. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about the sales and what it is and how it is represented in RigER. So it's not going to be news for anyone if I state that all the jobs in the rental industry, and not only in the rental industry, start with a sales and a quote. So in RigER, we just, you can see the cycle of a simple job on your screens right now. And we start with the oil field sales. And the salesperson on the field, depending on his abilities, he can use either the mobile application if he uses the cell phone or the laptop or the tablet that he has, or he can use his laptop and connect to the cloud and create a sales quote and a rental service agreement. Now every single job in RigER starts with the rental service agreement, and that is the main document that the salesperson or the sales manager are responsible for in RigER. So let's speak more about the rental service agreement. Now, moving to the next slide, you will see the general document flow in the RigER process, and it will encapsulate everything in the rental service agreement itself. Now, whether you want to create a delivery ticket, whether you want to provide service, you want to do a maintenance or a repair, everything is going to be inside the rental service agreement. This is the main documented main framework, if you will, in RigER, and it will always contain all the tickets inside it. So let's speak a bit, let's dive deeper a bit into the rental service agreement and see what fields represent what. Now, this is the rental service agreement journal in RigER system, a log, if you will. If you open this up, you will see the list of all of the current rental service agreements that you have in the system, with the precise information about every single one of them, starting from the statuses and ending with the salesperson who created these agreements. You have the ability to run different kind of filters on it, and you can filter it down to the status or a time frame, whichever will apply for you, to get a better idea of what you want to see as of that point in time. Moving on to the next slide, we will see the rental service agreement itself. This is the top portion of the document when you start to create one. And you will see the red dotted fields in it. Those fields are actually a mandatory fields in the document, and you will almost always have to input this information before the rental service agreement can be saved. Now, several things that we will need to focus on are, first of all, the dates. You can see the date indicated with the red dot. That is the date of the rental service agreement itself. Now, except this date, we also have a start and end date at the top right corner, bottom right corner of this screenshot, and you can see those fields are empty as of right now. The start date and the end date indicate the actual rental period of your job. So if you input the start date, your rental period will start from here. And if you edit this date in the delivery ticket further, the rental your rental period will start from the rental delivery ticket. Okay, the next thing that we will need to talk about are the types of the rental service agreement. Now, the first two, as you can see, the three buttons, they are indicated with the three buttons on the screenshot. The first two are the OFR and OFS, which stand for Oilfield Rentals and Services. And these are mainly based on daily pricing, and they use daily pricing. Now, the GR, on the other hand, the general rentals type of the rental service agreement, will use daily, weekly, monthly pricing or a billing cycle, whichever you define as its default mechanism. Moving on to the next topic would be the attachments. And in the rental service agreement, as in any other kind of a document in RigER platform, you will be able to attach any kind of document, be it a photo, be it just a text, be it a video file, whichever you need to attach to a particular document. You will have that option in the attached files link that we have above the post and close and save buttons. Now, the locations and whales. The location obviously is a mandatory field because you will need to select this field before you can provide a job or a service before you can send an equipment to that location or provide a service. So you can either state the location itself, or you can use even the sub-location or the well and indicate the well name inside this field. The department, the division, and the line of business are several different dimensions that we can use in RigER. The division applies to our own company, and it will no, the division applies to the client. I'm sorry. The division applies to the client company, and it will always define the different divisions in the client sector, be it like the oil and gas, and maybe the client also has a division in a construction. So this field will define the pricing mechanism that you will be using for your client. Meaning in the oil and gas division, the client will have one type of pricing. On the in the construction division, if he has one, he will have another type of pricing. The departments are and the lines of businesses are applicable to our own company, and the department will almost always indicate our shops, yards, warehouses, and the line of business will indicate the line of products that we have and we offer. And if we need to, we will be able to use the line of business field and see which line of product of ours has been doing well enough during the past time frame, and which one we need to focus a bit more. So let's move on to the next slide and discuss the rental service agreement tabs, which we have several. So first would be the rental equipment tab, and this is where you actually will add your equipment to the rental agreement that you will need to dispatch to the client location. Now on your screen you can see that I have added 3 different rental units to this list, and those rental units almost always will have the rental per day price, their pricing pulled from the price list. Now the prices should have the prices in the prices indicated already, and if we have those prices, this will be pulled in here and you will not have to manually enter them here. But in case like in the light tower 20 kilowatt case we have right here, the price line is empty. You can almost always just double click on it and edit the price, and this will be enough for further jobs to use that pricing in the system. Moving on to the next slide, we have the services and parts. Here you do add the services and the consumables that you will need to provide to your client as a part of the job. And we can move to the next slide, which would be the sales. This is the information that your salesperson will include in the initial rental service agreement draft, and this will be pulled off to the further rental service agreement. Moving on to the next would be the comments, and we have 2 types of comments in every possible document in RigER that we utilize for the job. Now those comments are, those 2 types of comments are external comments. These types of comments are used when you want to communicate, let's say, to your client via the print forms of the different documents. So if you wanted something to be visible on the print form of the rental service agreement, you can add those lines in this external comment field, and the print form would be able to show that information. On the other hand, the internal comment field will be used between the RigER users to communicate with each other, and it will never be visible on any kind of print form. Besides these tabs that we talk about here, we also have optional tabs. I call them optional. We call them optional because these tabs are not included by default in the default configuration, and depending on the operations that your business has, these tabs can be enabled or disabled. Now, some of them are the additional fee tab when you want to include a fee that does not fall under either the rental equipment or the services or consumable parts tabs. You can use the components, which are the components of combo units. If you utilize combo units in your daily operations, you will add the components of those combo units inside this tab. You can do the standby, which will obviously allow you to put to standby your equipment that you have on the client location. And we have the wells tab, which will allow you to add the precise well names to the list, which will be used in further invoicing and other purposes. So one major thing that we have added in the into the RigER system and is available inside the RSA are the packages. Now, we previously had the combo units and the assemblies that we utilized, and if you refer back to the webinar that we have a year ago with the same topic, for the rental service agreements, you would see that only combo units and assemblies were available there. As of right now, not as of right now, recently we have added the packages into the system, and the packages will allow you to build or add a package from within the rental service agreement. And these packages can include the rental units, they can include the services and consumable parts, and they can include all types of other information within them. So it's another powerful way to utilize your equipment and make your life easier. So now moving to the RSA approval stage. This is one of those important and mandatory steps that has to be done manually. As in real life, you would approve the rental service agreement that has been generated or created by the salesperson on the field. In the RigER system, you will also have to manually change the status of the rental service agreement to approve to be able to proceed with the job. So you just need to click on this status drop-down box and select approved, or you just start typing APP and it will just filter down the status to approved for you, so you can select it. Now, after approving, you can go back, you can proceed and start creating your rental tickets. Now, after approving, if you want to provide your client with a print form of your quote or the rental service agreement, you can just print them from within the rental service agreement, and this is what those forms would look like. On the left-hand side, you will see the quote print form, which will obviously include every single rental unit that we have attached to the job, and the services and the taxes and subtotals and total amounts. And on the right-hand side, you can see the rental agreement print form, which also includes the terms and condition fields and the customer signature field. By the way, this field can be used in the mobile application. The customer can sign on the mobile device, and the mobile application will synchronize this document already signed to the system upon the synchronization process. Okay, now I have stated that we do have not only the cloud solution for the sales, but also the mobile applications for the sales purposes. And we recently added to our mobile application family the Oilfield Sales app, which generally focuses only on the rental service agreement creation part. Now, we had the mobile oilfield application, which already had that functional, but alongside with that functional, it also has a lot more. And it can be a lot more bigger and not useful for a salesperson who only needs to focus only on several types of documents like rental service agreements and quotes. Now, the Oilfield Sales app, on the other hand, does exactly that, and it provides the rental service agreement form and the quote for the salesperson to be able to just create one. Inside the app, the salesperson can create new rental agreement, new clients, location, contacts, rigs, items, etc. He can change the statuses of the rental service agreement if he has the permissions to do so set in the cloud database. He can check the units availability that he is trying to add to the rental agreement. He can check the prices, see the list of rental service agreements reports, attach any kind of documents, and even he can just print this quote right from his app to the mobile printer, and have the client sign the document and take a photo of the signed document, attach that photo to the rental agreement, and synchronize it with the cloud. And if we move on to the next slide, you will see that the synchronization process is built on the human interaction, meaning that our apps, our mobile apps, are not running always online. We just run the application, the standalone part of the application, in the phone or the tablet. Then the user has to manually go into the settings and synchronize the application with the cloud in order to have the information transferred to the cloud system. Okay, so on this note, let me just pass the microphone to our user support lead technician, user support lead, Indra, and she will start talking about the price management in RigER.
Hello, everyone. My name is Indra, and as Arsen mentioned, I'm support technician here in RigER. And let me present for you the price management approach here in RigER. So RigER has a very flexible price management system, and we have different options for managing prices in RigER. We have price list, price agreement. Also, we can separate prices by divisions. We can apply discounts to price lists, price agreements, or directly on rental service agreements. And also, we can have different rental periods and applicable prices for them. So in the next slide, let me introduce you with the prices in RSA. We have two options how to store prices in RigER. We have general price list. Also, we have price agreement for particular client for particular period of time. Rental service agreement defines prices for the job, and all prices to RSA comes from price list and price agreement. What is very important to mention that during invoice generation procedure, all prices are taken only from RSA. So it is very important to have correct prices for equipment and services in rental service agreement. The next topic is a price list. So it is a general list of prices for every equipment, every service or goods in the system. Price list applies prices for all clients. Price list has rental per day prices and sales price if you sell some units to customers. You can generate price list by adding item by item, or you can select an item group, and also you can generate a price list for the entire item catalog by clicking fill out button in the system. So in the next slide, you can see a price agreement, and price agreement document specifies prices for particular clients for specific period of time. So you can specify from what date to what date these prices will be active for the client. Prices in the price agreement has a higher priority than prices in price list. In the next slide, you can see that we have a discounts in RigER system too. RigER allows to provide discounts for items or services. You can enter discount in price agreement for particular item, single item or service, or you can apply discounts for entire list in price agreement. Also, RigER allows to apply discounts for single item or service in rental service agreement too for particular job only. The next price management option in RigER is a price book and rental period. For some type of clients or some type of businesses, we can have price books. For example, clients from construction businesses may have different billing periods and rental periods. So you can have daily, weekly, and monthly prices in RigER system too. So now let's move to the next topic, which includes clients, locations, and contacts. And let's start with the client cards with the clients. RigER has company cards in the system where you can store all important information and details about that client. Information such as addresses, locations, contact lists, and etc. Yes, and in the next slides, we see a locations card in RigER system, and locations defines the physical place where the equipment is delivered for the job. In location card, you can store all information related with that location, such as directions, where to go, how to go to that location. You can store and coordinates for the map, like latitude and longitude coordinates, and even open a Google map with the particular directions to the locations. Also, you can have a 3 contact persons for that particular location for easier communication during the job. And it is very important to mention that all addresses and locations are tied to particular client. So in contact card in RigER, you can keep all the information for contact persons, such as phone numbers, email addresses, position of the person in the company, and all the information is tied with the particular client.
Thank you, Indra. Indeed, thank you very much. It's been so we're building up for the for the types of agreements, but what we've covered today for all of you, so that you would kind of grasp what are we talking about, is just to kind of understand how do you, before you create a job, you need to have specific information in the system, and that's what the RSAs, the clients, the locations, and everything has to be in place to be able to create those mysterious 4 types of the jobs that we're going to be talking about in a bit. I wanted to ask a question that came from Lori. So the question is, who sets the permissions in the mobile application? I guess it relates to that fact that we showed different mobile applications and different things that can be done in it. So the question probably is relating to that. So who sets the permissions to who can do what? And I think, Arsen, you may comment on that.
Yes, sure. Well, first of all, we have to understand that in every single system that we provide to our clients, we will need to define the user roles, and we will most always need to have a person who will be responsible for the system administration. We will call them either the admins or the champions of that particular system, and the champions are generally the people who have access to the permission settings. So the champion or the administrator of the RigER platform in your company will have the ability to set the permissions for the salesperson or the field technician or the accountant or any other person, and will have the ability to add or limit the roles for the particular user.
Okay, thank you, Arsen. That's a great point indeed. So you are empowered user. So it's your system that you configure, that we configure for you, and you will get trained to use the system. So the next question again from Lori, I think it's more of a mobile that got her interested in, and the question is, how can I remind users to synchronize on time, given that the system synchronization does not perform automatically?
Yes, it's a really good question, and we do like to stress a lot that our mobile applications are not always online, and that has a reason. The reason is that we know that not all client locations that you provide jobs for will have cell phone coverage. So we do have the applications in the offline mode, and you will need to, not you, the users will need to synchronize it manually. Now, whenever the user forgets to synchronize the database, the application with the cloud database, we can set up a reminder, like a scheduled reminder, or be it like every 12 hours or every 24 hours, that he will get the reminder on his phone from within his mobile application. And the reminder will prompt him to go ahead and synchronize with the cloud, so the information will flow from his application directly to the cloud.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I think it's a big one. Thank you, Lori, again for your question, because it's something that gets asked quite often from our future users and the current users as well. So that's great. Thank you, Arsen. Again, to those of you who haven't had a chance to ask a question, use the Q&A button in the control panel, and we'll be able to answer the question. If you want, you can also send it over email. We'll be able to catch that as well. So the email would be support@rigor.ca. Okay, so on that note, I wanted to keep the pace and move on to the next part of our presentation today, and it's going to be exactly the 4 types of the Oilfield jobs in RSA, and what are they? Okay, so take it away, Indra.
Hello, hi, and thank you, Nikolai. So let's move forward to the next our webinar topic, oilfield jobs and RSA types in RigER. And we will briefly introduce you with oilfield rentals, oilfield services, general rentals, and disposal operations in RigER. So in this slide, you can see oilfield rentals. When you generate a new RSA, a new rental service agreement, and select a type of oilfield rentals, OFR, the rental equipment tab becomes the first one for fill out. It's for your easier navigation in the system, and it is because for this type of RSA, rental equipment is mandatory to fill out. To proceed with RSA and post a document, you have to list at least one equipment in the document for the job. The next type of rental service agreements, what we have in RigER, is Oilfield Services. When we generate a new RSA with a type of OFS, Oilfield Services, the Service and Parts tab becomes the first one to fill out. As I mentioned before, it's for easier navigation when you're generating a new document and when you are preparing the list of services you will be providing in the job. In this type of RSA, rental equipment is not mandatory, but it can be selected if needed. And this type of RSA is mostly used for providing services for the job for the client.
All right, so let's move on to the third major type of the rental service agreement that we have in the system, which is the general rentals. And as I have stated previously, and Indra has shown, the general rentals type is based mainly on different kind of pricing schemes that you may have in the system. You can set the rental period in your RigER system depending on your needs. It can be a day, a week, a month, a semi-month, a quarter, whichever you prefer. And those rental periods will be accounted in the general rentals and will be shown in the rental equipment or the services and parts tab, which will allow you to set the daily, weekly, monthly, or other pricing that you may have in the system. So if we move on to the next slide, you will see the general rentals pricing schemes and how it is defined. Now, the daily, weekly, and monthly will be shown in the rental service agreement of type general rentals and will be populated from within the price book. The price book will allow you to set the different types of the pricings for that particular type of RSA, and from there those prices will be populated inside the RSA. Now, the rental periods, on the other hand, are defined in the system by you and in the rental periods catalog, and the price matrix is used to understand how many days or bases you will count as a week or a month or a semi-month. Now, if you had a job that was going to be out there for 12 days, you will see that 12 days accumulate to more than 2 weeks, and in this case the price would be taken as a monthly price. Let's move on to the next slide, and this one would be not a type of a rental service agreement, but yet a very important type of operations that we have utilized in RigER. The disposal operations is mainly focused on the waste management part of the business that you might have, and this is represented as a delivery ticket of a type disposal in RigER platform. Now, what this ticket allows you to do that other tickets do not, this ticket allows you to do a disposal operation and a swap of the preferred rental unit that you have on location from within a single ticket. So you just indicate the disposal information in the disposal tab, then you indicate the swappable rental unit and the to be swapped rental unit in the swap tab, and just post the ticket, and this basically does the action from within one ticket and makes life a lot more easier. So I guess this is the final step that we wanted to stress on the 4 types of the jobs that we have in RigER, the 4 types of RSA jobs we have in RigER, and we are back to the second session of our questions and answers.
Yeah, thank you, Arsene, and thank you, Indra. Indeed, the 4 types, and again, when we talk about the oilfield rentals and the services, we do understand that there are, the jobs vary from one client to another, but there are generic ones, and that's what we wanted to present to you today. So the key one is the rentals. So, and it's specifically, RigER's been built originally to do the rentals, and then the services got added. So we know that the services is also an important one, but sometimes you may need to have rental, equipment or may not need to have rental equipment. So that part of the job, such as the services or the field ticket for the services, is an important one to be able to untie and focus specifically on services, where you can list them and group in a different tab, again allowing you easier to find and add new services if need be. So again, it's all for the simplicity of information and simplicity of organization. The second one is the third one is a general rental. Again, it's a big but rather less unique to the oil field job, but sometimes it's very important. And some companies use that more than the others. And the fourth one, again, is more of an industry application kind of a job, because it's very unique. It came from the real need of some of our clients, and that's a disposal operation. Again, the reason why we wanted to feature all four of them for you, is just to, again, highlight that RigER is pretty flexible as a system. We can configure it to meet any needs of either service, rental, or any other type of a job in the oil field. We've been there for now 7+ years, and so configuring system to us, as long as we understand what the need is, doesn't take either long, or it doesn't make you break a bank to create a solution that's specifically designed for you. So we do encourage you to explore all the different options. And again, on this note, I wanted to open the floor for another questions if you have any. And as a matter of fact, I have a question. The question comes from Mark, and the question is, do the companies use all different types, or they can select one or the other and disable something that they don't use? I guess that's a question about the configuration to you, Arsen.
Yes, depending on the operations of your company, you can select which tab you actually want to be the default type. You will have access to the other types if you prefer so, or we can actually hide them if you do not need to use them. You can set the preferred or the default type of the operations or the type of the rental service agreement, and it will it will always create that type of the agreement for you every time you create a new one. So.
And just I wanted to add to that one. So if the need is to add another one, we can always reach us out, Mark, and then we can add that additional tab or additional sort of option for a job for you, and you'll be able to do that as well in the system.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Thank you very much, Arsen. And again, thank you very much, Indra. I'm just checking out the questions, and I actually don't see any more questions coming up. I guess the topic may be very clear, which is very good. But again, I wanted to let you know that in case you have the questions but are shy to ask them or cannot type them up because of the time constraint or any other reason, feel free to let us know, and over email or by phone. So our contact information will be. Oh, it's not on this slide, but I'll make sure that this is on the slide again, and we'll be able to get to you as soon as possible. So on that note, if there are no other questions, and I'm looking and I'm checking, there aren't any more questions. I wanted to thank everyone who's joined us today. We'll see you next week with another topic for a webinar, and I don't know what the topic will be, but you'll get a notification what it will be about. So we'll look forward to seeing you again next week, and thank you very much again for joining us today. So we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, and take care.
Thank you.